What is going on, everybody? So now that my off-season deep dive series is complete, I've laid down 90 plus minutes of thorough analysis on all 32 teams. Today, a much shorter video. We're going to have some fun, do my best to try and predict what every team's record is going to be, who wins the Super Bowl, and who wins each award that the NFL gives out. I do want to take this video as an opportunity to do a little bit of channel housekeeping here and just lay out my schedule for the regular season here. So on Tuesday mornings, bright and early, you can expect my weekly Power Rankings show. On Wednesdays, you'll be getting my weekly recap episodes of the Fully Inflated Football podcast. I think that first episode I will drop here on the main channel, but do make sure you're following the Fully Inflated Football podcast YouTube channel or the podcast on your audio feeds. I will be publishing the show over there after week one. And then Fridays are going to be kind of a miscellaneous day here on the channel. I might take next Friday off and recover a little bit. We'll see. And then Fridays will be a bit of a miscellaneous day, but it will almost always be either a positional tier maker video or a some form of a film-based video essay or film analysis. Again, there on Fridays. I might take next Friday off. Beyond that, you can get access to my exclusive weekly Vegas picks where we track my record against the spread throughout the entire season, exclusively over on my Patreon. And then I will still be doing my Studs and Duds series. This year, we're going to be doing it in trimesters, and I'll be releasing those division by division. So around week 6, around week 12, and then at the very end of the season, you'll be getting flooded with Studs and Duds videos. And then anything beyond that, I do want to try and stream some live coverage of primetime games, Monday night, Thursday night. Be on the lookout for announcements on that. And then, as many of you know, this channel did start as a Madden channel. I do still have gaming content over on TFG Plays, new college football content. Should be getting into a Madden rebuild as well once I can get my custom community roster up for you guys as well. And I stream all my rebuilds on Twitch, so those links are in the description below. And then one more thing, it is not too late to go get your season set up at Underdog. If you want to have pick'ems at your fingertips, the best way to ramp up your interest in any given football game, any given football Sunday, pick'em contests are the best. I highly recommend it. And Underdog is looking to get your season off on the right foot with a Travis Kelce special for tonight's game. All he needs is a half a yard. I think he can probably get that one. But if you sign up using promo code TFG at Underdog, they will give you up to a $1,000 bonus match, and you'll support my channel in the process. Thank you for hearing me out for the long intro there. Definitely some housekeeping necessary. But without further ado, let's get into the predictions. Gonna try and rip through this pretty quickly, maybe with some one-liners for each team here. Starting in the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings finishing in 4th place, a 7-10 record. I think a fun season. Sam Darnold plays pretty well, but they do fall short of playoff contention. Then the Chicago Bears at 9-8. This will be enough to get them into the playoffs as the 7 seed, kind of living up to expectations here with Caleb Williams in his rookie season. Then I have the Green Bay Packers at 11-6, setting themselves up well heading into January with Jordan Love and a new look defense here that I'm very excited to see. But I wasn't playing around when I made the Detroit Lions my number 2 team in my power rankings this season. I have them going 13-4. In many ways, bullying the NFL this season. Then in the NFC East, 4th place, the Washington Commanders at 4-13. I'm not really expecting some big Jaden Daniels rookie season. I'm really not. I was already lower on him coming out of the draft, and behind that offensive line and a defense that I think lacks talent, I'm not too stoked on the Commanders this year. Then I got the Giants, kind of a frisky 5-12. I do think Daniel Jones will play better this year. But as I went through game by game, their schedule actually came off pretty tough to me. And ultimately, they end the season still kind of in quarterback purgatory. But at number 2, NFC East fans on the edge of their seats, who's it going to be here? I've got the Dallas Cowboys at 11-6 in 2nd place. Still a very good regular season, but as we know with this team, it is not about what happens until about January 6th with this football team. Can they get in the playoffs and not choke this year? We'll see later on. But that does put the Philadelphia Eagles in 1st place, a loaded roster. hopefully ready to go this year with more capable coordinators on both sides of the ball. Then we have the lousy NFC South, the worst division in football here. I have the New Orleans Saints in last place in this division. I think the Derek Carr fatigue behind a brutal offensive line is going to set in as this season goes on. And honestly, kind of a sneaky pick for worst record in the NFL this year. I'm not going quite that far, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm very low on this team this year. And then I have the Carolina Panthers not in last place. A 6-11 season for Carolina. I know things looked bad last year and everybody's already crowning Bryce Young a bust, but I do think they did a very good job to surround him with enough pieces for him to look like an NFL quarterback and for them to have some fun on offense. I've got the Tampa Bay Bucks at 8-9. I still think they're going to be a frisky team, about as good as they were last year, honestly. I just think the rest of the teams around them in the NFC and the NFL at large advanced a little bit further in terms of how good they're going to be after this team did lose Carlton Davis and their offensive coordinator. But that puts the Atlanta Falcons in first place, a 10-7 finish. The Kirk Cousins project succeeds in them winning the NFC South. Then we have the NFC West. I do have one of my favorite teams, one of the teams I'm most excited to watch this year, in fourth place, the Arizona Cardinals. This defense is going to be atrocious, but that is why this team is going to be so fun to watch. I've been loading up on Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. Hell, give me Michael Wilson. I think there's going to be a lot of fun games in Arizona, some of which they will win. And while I've only got them 7-10, hot take here, I think they beat the Bills in Buffalo on Sunday. Then we've got the Seattle Seahawks in third place, 8-9, knocking at the door of the playoffs in their first year with Mike McDonald, but falling just short. And then a bit of a surprise here with the Rams at 8-9. I am terrified of this defense. And honestly, I don't think this team is that different from the Arizona Cardinals. I think these are the two worst defenses in the NFL right now. I do not understand why they traded away Ernest Jones. I'm much lower on this defensive line than a lot of people. This team might lead the league in points scored. They're going to win some games because of that. And if they did sneak into the playoffs, Matthew Stafford would probably be my pick for MVP. But I'm worried that they're going to win enough games that he will get those votes. This is the one that scares me, though, that this team could still go 11-6. The defense doesn't even matter, and Sean McVay does it again. So we'll see how that one goes. Then we've got the Niners at 12-5, business as usual there, taking care of business in the NFC West. Let's go over to the AFC in the North. At the bottom, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, but at 9-8, Mike Tomlin pulls off that magic again, keeps his winning season streak alive. I don't know if it's going to be Russ or Fields all the way down the stretch. I don't know how much that's really going to matter. I do know this team is going to run the piss out of the football, though, so look out for that run game. But then at third place, I have the Cleveland Browns. I still think this defense is going to be one of the best in the league. The combination of Stefanski and Watson does just scare me, but this is arguably the most talented roster in the NFL. Should be even better than last year. So I have them getting to 10 wins and a wild card spot. The Ravens getting second place here at 10-7. The amount of losses this team endured this offseason do scare me. A lot of people were surprised when I ranked them 6th in my power rankings. I do think this team is still a playoff team and is going to be in contention for this tough division. But as I was going through the schedule, man, when they had to go up against teams with good pass rushes, I was just really scared of those matchups. I think this offensive line is going to stink, and the Ravens take a little bit of a step back after what they were last year. Another team, though, like the Rams, that scare me. And could this team go 13-4 and make me look stupid? Yes, absolutely. But I do have the Cincinnati Bengals at 12-5. I am betting on a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins revenge tour in Cincinnati. And they get the last place schedule in this division, which does actually make a big difference when things are so tight. But then in the AFC East, the New England Patriots, 2-15. A tough schedule, a depleted defense after Barmore should be done for the year, and they traded away Matt Judon. I'm actually a little bit worried that Gerard Mayo is kind of getting thrown to the wolves a little bit here. Reminds me a little bit of a young Raheem Morris who inherited a mess in Tampa Bay when he was 32, 33 years old. Took him 10 more years to get back into the head coaching ranks. I just don't think he's set up for success here. I really hope they protect Drake May and don't expose him to what I'm projecting to be a bunch of junk here. I hope I'm wrong, man. I really do, but this team really scares me. I think they could be, looking at the number one pick, which, hey, if they don't ruin Drake May, that could be a good thing. That could be an elite wide receiver or a left tackle or something that they desperately need here. But then maybe the hottest take out of these predictions, I have the Buffalo Bills at 9-8, missing the playoffs, and I think Sean McDermott gets fired this year. You can go watch that Bills deep dive to see why I'm a little worried about this team. They're going to be in the mix. And another situation where if they did make the playoffs, Josh Allen would probably be my pick for MVP. But this is not a Josh Allen-based prediction here. I'm worried about all of the losses. Matt Milano already went down. The defense doesn't scare me. The playmakers don't scare me. The only thing that scares me here is Josh Allen, and that could be enough, but I've got him falling just short. Then I've got the Miami Dolphins, 10-7. I feel almost identical to this team as I did about last year, where I think the regular season will be just fine. They are kind of the Cowboys of the AFC right now. What will January and beyond look like for this team, though? And then the Jets. I know, I'm planting my flag again on the Jets, my number 5 ranked team heading into this season. A lot of people think I'm crazy. I'm going to stand by everything I said in that deep dive, how I broke it down. I think this team is set up for success even more so than they were last year. Yes, of course, though, they have injury concerns. If they strike again, this is going to age poorly. But a 12-5 finish for the New York Jets this year. Then in the AFC South, I have the Titans at the bottom, kind of a frisky, random team at 5-12. The only thing that really matters this year is how do you feel about Will Levis at the end of it all. I could see this team kind of week to week being a lot of like 23 to 27 games, most of which they end up on the wrong side of, some of which they win. Then I have the Colts at 7-10, kind of disappointing. A little bit worse than last year, though I think the football team will be better. Thing is, there's just so many quarterbacks and teams bouncing back in this conference. It's going to be tough for them to get back to 9 wins or whatever it was they finished last year. I expect some ups and downs from Anthony Richardson in what is effectively his rookie season in many ways, but the main goal here is that you feel good about what he is heading into his 3rd year, and I think they can accomplish that even if they finish 7-10. And then I have the Jags at 9-8 in 2nd place. I think the Trevor Lawrence hate has just gone way too far, but I do have worries about the offensive line, what those playmakers are going to look like together, the defense. I don't know if they put the whole thing together, but I do feel pretty good that the Trevor Lawrence hate will stop after this season. I think he's going to play damn well. He is my pick to lead the NFL in passing yards this year. And then the Houston Texans kind of fulfilling their expectations, but not necessarily shattering them. A tough schedule and a lot of expectations for things to go exceedingly well here. I still think 10-7 winning this division is on schedule for the Houston Texans. And we'll see what I've got them doing in the playoffs. And then the AFC West, the bottom 3 teams, it hardly seems to matter. Really not a lot of expectations for any of these teams. Maybe the Chargers, but I've got the Broncos at 5-12. I do think Bo Nix looks pretty good, though. The Chargers at 6-11. Look, Harbaugh's a great coach. This thing can get on track maybe by season's end and heading into next year, but they have so much work to do. I just don't think people realize how thin this roster is. I feel like they need one more offseason to get some real talent to spread throughout this team. I do still believe the Raiders are going to find a way to get a frisky 7-10 season in there. There's just something about them that I like. This defense is going to be a pain in the ass to go against, even if they have some holes. And I kind of like the way this offense is designed. A lot of playmakers, an underrated O-line. Not expecting playoffs here, but a somewhat respectable 7-10 season. And then Kansas City. We just dropped the Chiefs deep dive here today, but I think this team is in a better position to be, the best team in football this year than they were last year, even after losing L'Jarius Sneed. So before we look at the playoff predictions, we'll do the awards show here as the NFL votes on these based on the regular season. With the MVP, picking right up where we just left off. I've got Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP. I love the way they've built the speed back into this offense, and just with the way I've got the season playing out, I found a hard time picking another MVP with the Bills and the Rams missing the playoffs. I do think Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen would be my next two kind of picks for this, but I don't know the last time a non-playoff team quarterback didn't win MVP. And then for Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to take a cop-out, but I could also see this happening because these two guys are in different conferences. I've got co-winners of the Offensive Player of the Year award, Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. I think these guys are poised for ridiculous seasons. Maybe that makes me a coward, but I could see a world where they split it up if both these guys have 1,900 yards, 17 touchdowns, 150 receptions. Like, I think both these guys are going to have, like, basically inseparable seasons. Then Defensive Player of the Year, staying in Dallas there, Micah Parsons. I think Myles Garrett should be the favorite, but because of voter fatigue, they might go to another one of these elite edge rushers. Bosa's gotten his. TJ Watt's gotten his. Garrett's gotten his. Micah's the one true elite guy left to get it. The sleeper there would be Max Crosby, but I do think the team success of the Dallas Cowboys will be the separator there. And another guy to maybe sneak into that conversation would be Aiden Hutchinson. Want to give him a shout too. And another guy I thought about here is Sauce Gardner. If the Jets have the season I'm predicting, he might be in the spotlight. If he continues to be a tier or two ahead of any other corner in the league, maybe the voters who are really paying attention would allude to Sauce. So multiple names there, but I will go with Micah Parsons. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I've got Caleb Williams. If the Bears make the playoffs and Caleb is half as good as he could be, this should be a lock. It's funny, I haven't really seen a take with Caleb Williams that I think is going too far. Maybe that's just because Bears fans have been so scarred over the years and we're coming off a year where, the number one pick played like shit. But the sky's the limit here in Chicago, and I've got things going pretty well in year one. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year. I like Byron Murphy here, man. I did think he was the best overall defensive player in the draft. I go back and forth between him and Laiatu Latu for this award. Love Latu as well. A lot of you that have followed the channel might be surprised that Latu's not my pick here, but call it a coin toss, 51%, 49%. I'm going to land on Byron Murphy there. And then Coach of the Year, I just kind of looked at my standings, my record predictions here, and I was like, who would be the kind of overachieving coach in this situation? I think the award would go to either Raheem Morris, which is going to be my pick here, or D'Amico Ryans. It's kind of a silly award. Like, it should be Dan Campbell or Kyle Shanahan or Andy Reid, but we know how that award goes. And then Comeback Player of the Year. Look, Damar Hamlin just got named the starter for the Bills. He didn't get it last year, but if he's actually out there starting every week, even if he's just an average, like, low-end starter, he should get this award this year around. So I will go with Damar Hamlin. All right, playoffs. I'm going to go pretty quick through these because the probability of these matchups being the matchups that we see are incredibly low. But in round one, Eagles, Packers. This one we could break down because we're going to see this game tomorrow. I don't love this matchup for the Packers, whose weakness probably is run defense. The Eagles should be able to run the piss out of the football with Saquon and Hurts in that offensive line, especially if this game's in Philadelphia. Could be tough. So I am going to go Eagles in a pretty high-scoring, exciting game. Not a good draw for my Green Bay Packers here, losing in the first round of the playoffs. Cowboys, Falcons. I'll give Dak a win this year. Squishy Falcons defense. It's just the first round of the playoffs. Maybe this is what it takes to go on the road, get that monkey off their back, get a playoff win. But then we got Bears at 49ers. This is where the Bears fun is going to stop. They'll build up some pretty nasty hype heading into the 2025 season, but the Niners are just a handful for them there. In the AFC, Ravens at Jets. This was the big controversy of my deep dive power rankings reveals, and here we are, first round of the playoffs. I got to make this pick again. Both these teams had identical team grades for my series. So a really tough pick here, but I am going to stick with the Jets. If they've made it this far, that means they're probably remotely healthy. And if this team is remotely healthy, look the hell out for the New York Jets. Then I've got the Dolphins at the Texans. I'll go Texans here. The Dolphins' playoff woes continue. Really fun coaching matchup there to see how DeMeco counters the Mike McDaniel offense. Browns at Bengals. The Browns have given the Bengals fits here, but Big Game Joe in the playoffs makes enough plays at the end to advance here against the divisional opponent there. Round 2, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to out-physical the Dallas Cowboys in Detroit, advance to the NFC Championship. Eagles at Niners. We get this matchup again. I'm going to go Niners, being the home team here, really being the only thing that decides a powerhouse matchup there. Texans at Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. This, to me, is kind of my expectations for the Texans. Win their division, win a playoff game, and then maybe next year we'll be talking playoffs for this team. Could they surprise? Yes, absolutely. But having to go to Arrowhead seems like a fitting way for their season to end. Then Jets at Bengals. By the way, the NFL does reseed. I always get comments like, you did the bracket wrong. No, I didn't. They reseed as they advance. But I am going to go Jets. Just think the roster talent is better than what the Bengals have, even if this one is in Cincinnati. Then we've got our conference championships. 49ers in Detroit. A rematch of last year's NFC Championship that was oh so close. I think the Lions got a little better and the Niners got a little worse. I think that's enough to decide this one, especially being in Detroit this time around. Then we got Jets at Chiefs. I know you guys are going to call me insane, but I am going to go Jets to go to the Super Bowl this year. I understand the injury risks, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be better than pretty much anybody realizes, and I think this roster is way better than anybody realizes. This team is ready. They just need the football gods to not rip their entire football team apart by week 4. And that leaves Lions-Jets. The Detroit Lions, if they want to fulfill their Super Bowl dreams, have to get past the old boogeyman himself, Aaron Rodgers. I think they do it. I'm doing it, guys. I'm picking the Lions, the Detroit Lions, to win the Super Bowl this year. I think they're ready. They've built this thing up brick by brick. All they really need is that young secondary to be good. If that happens, there is not a hole on this football team, and this just feels right to me. So that is going to do it for our predictions show today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. I'm excited to see all of you back here in 4 months when none of this happens, as does tend to happen in the NFL, but fun nonetheless. Enjoy football tonight. Enjoy the season. We'll see you all soon. Peace out.